Now, why, may you be asking, did I take such a long break? Well, the answer is quite obvious. All right, this is Are You Alone in Single Player Games? Let's go.
To turn around. Sometimes you'll just be casually playing when suddenly something happens that makes you feel like someone is watching you. That unsettling feeling usually happens on accident. Most video games don't try to make you feel like you're being watched. But what about games that do? Games that want you to know that someone is watching. This video talks about 3 such games. I scoured the internet for weeks and played several horror games.
Yeah, okay, I will say right off the bat, that happens to me a lot in Minecraft. If I'm ever playing like single player Minecraft, when I'm just playing, I get like an unsettling feeling. You know what I mean? Like I'm just sitting there, I'll be like looking around and like I kind of just have this like realization that like I am completely alone in the world. Like I could walk thousands and thousands of blocks, thousands of miles, and there will be like nothing. Like there's like the villagers, but they're not like players. They're not like people. Like your character is different than them. It's not like they are supposed to be other people. They're different than you are. And so it's like, it's a very unsettling feeling because it's just, you get this like feeling like you're just so alone. Like there's nothing out there. You know what I mean? It's weird.
In the process. And in my search, I found 3 games that are more dreadful, more terrifying than any game I've ever played before. And yet there's not a single...
There's an iron lung in the middle.
They just make you feel paranoid, like someone is always behind you. How and why are these games so terrifying? And how did most of them make me feel like I was being watched in real life? All I can say is that the first game, I'm Scared, made me feel unsafe even after closing it. The game acts like a virus on your computer. It'll manipulate files, create folders on your desktop, and forcefully link you to strange videos.
Ooh.
It's hard to know where to start when talking about I'm Scared. Sure, I could describe it as it is, a meta 3D pixelated horror game where your objective is to find keys to doors in a long, dark hallway. I could describe it as many others do, as a game that manipulates files on your computer, crashes itself constantly, or takes you to...
That's weird. I've always found it so interesting when games do that. Like they'll take it out of the game and they'll just start like creating shit on your computer. I've seen stuff like that. Like I've seen games that they'll have like files that rename themselves.
But at its core, I'm Scared is a game about being watched. The concept of the fourth wall break is prevalent in all sorts of media, and why it can be terrifying has already been discussed at length. Basically, when you play a game, or watch a movie, or consume any form of media, there's always a disconnect between you and what you're consuming. I'm watching or playing a story. I'm not actively participating in it, just a neutral observer watching things unfold, or controlling my character when there's already a story at hand. But when that breaks down, when the metaphorical fourth wall collapses, we feel seen. We suddenly feel thrust into what we're consuming without our permission. You aren't supposed to know I'm here. So why are you looking at me?
You. Just you.
God damn it. I should get an ad blocker. I think I said that last time.
This exact thing. The game starts at the exit, one that can be opened with a pulsating heart. After opening a
I forgot to rename the stream. Good enough. Okay.
door to this fleshy room and picking up the heart, this happens.
Does it actually crash?
It's a little on the nose and obvious, but I think that was intentional. One of the claims to fame for I'm Scared is its fourth wall breaks and virus-like nature. It would be pretty hard for someone to play this game without already getting wind that it does something to your computer. The jump scare followed by a fake blue screen is obviously cheesy,
It is
and
fake,
the uninformed
yeah.
may be thinking, that's it? This moment allows I'm Scared to trick you into underestimating it. And as the game plays out, you'll
Oh,
notice
that's
that
interesting.
underestimating it is a sore mistake. It's after this blue screen that a text file appears on your computer called
Does it
attention.
start like,
This is the most important part of it.
does it like fake blue screen you and then as it goes on it starts like actually doing shit? That'd be crazy. Can you imagine? It like fake blue screens you and then it actually like changes files and then it actually blue screens you like at the end. It actually just crashes your computer, just takes over everything.
There's a way
Just
to
makes
do
you
it.
underestimate it, just
They
fucks
have
with
a
you.
life of their own, and it's difficult to distinguish them from normal computer files. In our actions of every day, while we sit at the computer, this bite entity observes us and studies our every move and fear. The entity, that we'll later know as Whiteface, is already inside your computer.
I think I remember this game. I remember I don't think I played this, but I for whatever reason, this game looks familiar to me, like Whiteface or whatever. Maybe I watched somebody play it.
Watching you. The fact that this information is communicated via
Like
text
years
file
ago.
further cements that fourth wall
Or
break,
like,
that
I don't know
feeling of being
how old
seen
it
in
is,
more
but like
ways than one.
a while ago.
Both by virtue of the game creating a file on your computer without your permission, and by the warning that something is watching you deep in your computer files. While fourth wall breaks in media can make us feel uneasy, the power is still in the hands of the viewer. No matter how many times Flowey tells me that my actions are remembered in Undertale, I still have the power to shut down the game, turn off the movie, to close the book. The type of fourth wall break I'm Scared delivers in its opening challenges even that modicum of safety that the player retains. Go ahead, close the game. Whiteface is still watching you somewhere on your computer.
Oh, it just shows up? Like it just shows up on your desktop as just Whiteface, like just the icon? That's fucking creepy. You like shut down the game, go do something else, you come back, and you just see it on your computer. It just keeps like fucking with
By
you.
virtue of this file that you feel almost obligated to continue playing, the goal now is external to the game, to get Whiteface out of your computer. So no matter how uncomfortable the fourth wall breaks get, leaving the game would be a grave mistake. This setup confronts you with another typically ignored aspect of horror games: why we play them. A game can be as scary as it wants, but if you're playing a horror game, you're likely there to get scared in the first place. Maybe you went into I'm scared with that thought originally, but now a small part of you is playing out of paranoia, out of fear of closing the game and letting Whiteface
Yeah, now you actually are scared. You went from like wanting to be scared to now actually being paranoid.
But it's hard to talk about all of these things without also looking at the game itself. Like I said earlier, the game revolves around finding keys to unlock doors in this dark hallway. Though you're almost never here, usually chasing leads and clues in other parts of the game. It's in these other parts where you meet the monster haunting your computer, Whiteface. This is where I'm Scared distinguishes itself even further from other horror games in its genre. It all has to do with the fact that Whiteface doesn't attack the player. It just observes the player. And it becomes clear very quickly that Whiteface is not malicious towards you. It's obsessed with you. The only time you'll see Whiteface is when he's stalking you from the shadows, watching you from a window, in the darkness of a cell, or running straight past you in a garden. In the one section where Whiteface actually chases you, it's clear that he's not trying to attack you. This section starts with the words, "Let's play tag," written on the walls. Whiteface chases you through a parking garage while you follow arrows on the ground. And even when it catches you, there is no jump scare or any indication that it did anything to you. The game just crashes, with a playful new text file appearing named "Got You." Whiteface is trying to spend time with you, chasing you for its own enjoyment. It's less of a jump scare and more of a...
He's
"This
just
is fun,
obsessed
try
with
again."
you.
As the game continues, that feeling that Whiteface's always
that's so
watching you gets
unsettling.
bolstered even more. After the first fake ending of the game, I was put into the room where the title page was set in. As I walked, I began to notice a strange pattern in the pictures framed on the walls. They're all photos taken from places I caught Whiteface watching me from, behind the bars while being chased. But then there's this...
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do in a situation like that? Because they're not even trying to like hurt you. This entity isn't trying to like hurt you. They're just watching you. But the thing is, like, you know that they're watching you. If you knew that somebody was watching you, but you knew for a fact they were never going to hurt you or do anything, you could just kind of like tune that out and just not think about it. And it wouldn't make any difference. They wouldn't interact with you in your own life, so it's like whatever. But when you like know that they're always watching you, like you turn around and you see them for a second. I feel like that's a whole nother level of like creepy. Because you're always aware. You can't ever tune it out. You can't ever like just not think about it. Because it's like it's watching you and it's constantly reminding you that it's watching you. Like it wants you to know that it's watching you. You know what I mean? That's different. That's different. Like it's almost like it wants you to know. Like it's reminding you that it can see you at all times. That's creepy.
photo. I don't
That's
remember
really
being in
fucking
this room with
creepy.
me. Was it there the whole time? Where else could it have been watching me from? Is it watching me right now?
You know what I miss most?
Whiteface is
I love
obsessed
Tom Brady.
with watching you. It even says that it loves it. At one point you're taken to its room. It reveals that it's cold and dark there, but it can still look at you. Watching you is the only enjoyment it can ever have. Whiteface doesn't want you to complete the game because if you do, it knows you're just going to close it forever. It tries everything in its power to keep you here. Near the real ending, after you get all the valves, a door opens, one that will take you to the finale. But instead of taking you straight there, you have to get every in-game achievement, As annoying as this seems, I did like this part of the game. It's one more desperate way for Whiteface to make you spend more time with it, making you go back and relive everything it put you through, now fully aware it's always watching. Once you do make it though, you have a choice. You can leave the game forever, ensuring Whiteface will never haunt you again, or you can choose to stay with it, pick up the flower, and spare Whiteface. This will reset the game and all of its achievements, meaning you have to play the game again, and again, and again. You haven't deleted Whiteface. He'll remain as data on your computer, watching you forever, just like it wanted to. Then there's the other ending, the one where you leave Whiteface here. Contrary to what seems obvious, the title of the game, I'm Scared, is not meant to be a reaction by the player while playing the game. It's a statement from Whiteface. When you walk through the door, you're greeted with a black and white version of the starting area. When you try to go down the hallway, Whiteface appears with probably the most disturbing audio of the entire game, a distorted version of someone screaming in pain. Whiteface is in agony. I don't want you to kill me.
Yikes.
I will look at you forever. I don't want to die. I'm scared. It attacks you and the game crashes again. Whiteface keeps attacking you when you try to open it. It insults you, it cries, it kicks and screams, wishes death upon you for not letting it watch you forever. After you boot up the game enough times, Whiteface's
Talk about manipulation, goddamn.
last text file. I'm scared. I'm scared at the point I cannot hide my heart anymore. Destroy this file, move it, change its name. The game will end, and so will my curse. Leave me here, I beg you. I want to stay here with you just a little more. One last cry for help. It's sad. Whiteface isn't acting out of revenge or hunger, but out of self-preservation, out of a childish urge to keep...
That's pretty interesting. I've never seen a horror game where the entity or the monster isn't acting out of like just malicious intent. Like that's the whole thing is like, you know, it's some monster, some entity or even some person that's acting out of malicious intent or just wants to harm you for whatever reason. But this is like it's harming you out of desperation. That's so I've never seen it go that deep before. I've never seen that type of like motivation from an enemy.
Its toys. But even in Whiteface's last words, it begs you to keep it here. Let it enjoy watching you just a little longer. If you delete its heart from the game files, the game ceases to be a game.
Yeah, because it's cursed. It's not like it chooses this. This is just its life. This is what it was created for, you know?
It's are lit up. Nobody's watching you anymore. Are you happy? It's gone now. Ironically, this section where you're alone in a lit up version of the map is scarier than when you knew you were being watched. Nobody's here. There's no game anymore, and yet you're still here. Maybe you were the one who was truly obsessed. I've never had a game make me feel so bad for what I did to the monster. Whiteface watched you because it loved you, because it couldn't take its eyes off of you, because you playing the game allowed it to exist. What you're left with when Whiteface is deleted is
Maybe it wasn't obsessed with you. It was just scared the whole time. Like it was watching you because that's what it was programmed to do. But it's not like it wanted to do that. It just didn't want to die. In the same way that as a human being, you don't want to die. You know what I mean? You're here to like, you know, eat, sleep, reproduce, whatever.
Ghost. A husk that feels almost more haunted than when it was inhabited.
Man.
That's not to say
That's
that
pretty
all
crazy.
monsters that watch you are misunderstood. The feeling of being watched is inherently one that makes people uneasy. The game Paratopic is one of the most dreadful and unsettling I've ever played. To call Paratopic a psychological horror game is an understatement, because it replicates that feeling of being watched in real life almost too well. It's hard to know where to start with Paratopic. I guess I'll start with how it made me feel. Have you ever been walking somewhere alone at night and just had the sudden urge to turn around? Or been on a late night drive alone, slightly tired, not a car on the road, and suddenly felt like you were being followed? That's what this 40-minute game made me feel. Now I'll go for a more mechanical introduction, so we all have the same baseline when talking about this thing. Paratopic is a non-linear psychological horror game in which you play as three
Am I gonna
people
sleep?
whose lives intersect
I might not.
in strange ways. A
I might not.
smuggler, someone who has to take tapes across an unspecified border. Tapes that seem to mangle people's flesh when viewed. An assassin sent to kill a leader inside this tape trade, and a birdwatcher who finds the ruins of illicit industry while going on a walk through a forest. The game never tells you who you're playing as. In any given scene, it's up to clues and sometimes interpretation to guess which character you are. There are 15 scenes in the entire game, and I mean scenes in the literal sense of the word.
Are they
Paradox
all
doesn't
like
to stay in one moment
going
forever,
after each other?
at random intervals to different characters or different situations. This also ties into one of the other important things about Paratopic, the title itself. A paratopic space is defined as a place that exists in between the story or beyond it. Paratopic spaces are parts of a story that need to happen, but don't matter. The events of The Shining never occur without the mundane drive to the Overlook Hotel. Paratopic spaces are what's between the important parts of a story. This principle is what the game is heavily based on. This will be important later.
Oh, I
At the
see.
end of the smug-
I see. Like in between like the big scenes where things actually change things. There's just like stuff in between.
journey, getting caught by border
That
patrol.
probably that's where they add like the context and the exposition and stuff like that
Keeping watch wants to look at your tapes
to make the storytelling more efficient.
But he goes anyways. We see a flicker of light. You look out onto a blank, flavorless street with a crow picking at a corpse on the side of the road. You get a phone call. Seconds later, you're loading a gun. The smuggler gets his first assignment in the same diner.
Yeah, it'd be so interesting if like all of the different characters you're playing as are going after each other and you don't know where each person is at any given time. Is that what's going on? I wonder. That'd be really fascinating. Where you're like playing different characters that are like interacting with each other.
Get a set of tapes across the border. It looks like you've done this before. The assassin kicks open a door and holds a man at gunpoint. Title. The smuggler calls the elevator and waits, and waits, and waits. The elevator comes down painfully slow. You go to your apartment. Your neighbor mentions some people breaking in. They left tapes. Your nosy neighbor asks for one. If you give it to her, this happens.
Lord. Why you did not say that. Oh my lord.
You're on the road. It's at this point where it's hard to guess who exactly you're playing as.
You also can't really know when. You don't know if it's like when it's going to each scene, like if it's going like back in time. You know what I mean?
You're still playing as the smuggler, and you'd be right. If you look next to you, you'll see the box of tapes sitting there. But you're also playing as the assassin and the birdwatcher. In fact, you're playing as all three and none at the same time. If you look away for a while and look again, you'll see the assassin's gun. Do it once more and you'll see nothing. The driving sections make up a good chunk of the game, so I'll sum up what my interpretation of this is. All three of the characters we play as need to go somewhere. And because the experience of driving down a highway is so universal, so similar to everyone else's experience of driving down a highway, the game doesn't make a distinction. You could be the smuggler, or you could be the assassin, or the birdwatcher. Does it really matter? The road would look the same no matter who you were playing as. You're everyone and no one, because Paratopic cares more about the act of driving than the character doing it. This driving section lasts over 3 minutes. Driving through an endless, sickly green city covered in unimaginative architecture, the kind that never reveals its purpose until you're already trapped inside its endless halls. When suddenly, you're in a gas station in the dead of night. It's hard to tell who you're playing as here, but it's either the assassin or smuggler most likely. It doesn't matter either way. Something is watching you. The gas station attendant makes small talk with you, tells you that he believes in aliens. He apparently saw one. At least he thinks he saw one. All he knows is that it wasn't human. And is your friend done fueling up? He asks. You look out the window. You drove here alone. So who did he see? In most horror games, this would be the setup for a scare, a relief of all the tension building from your conversation with the attendant, the supernatural happenings, the non-humans, the thing watching you from your car. But instead of making you go back to your car to find out what the attendant saw, the game just... You're on an empty stretch of road in the dead of night. You open a box and pull out a camera. The world turns bright. This is the first time we play as the bird watcher. If Paratopic didn't follow the mundane in-betweens of the story at hand, we may have gone to investigate whatever the attendant saw outside, but we don't get that relief.
Yeah, so now you have no idea what you saw outside. So now you're just kind of left wondering, huh? Oh.
Never see what's watching us from the car, or the non-human the attendant claimed to have seen. We're just cast into the next scene, like nothing happened. But of course something did happen. This mystery is now overstaying its welcome in the back of your mind. What was this guy talking about? Who was watching me? What aliens? Where am I now? You go into the woods already feeling watched. feeling like that built up tension in the gas station has to be relieved at any moment now. You just don't know when. You find a small building in the woods. The basement is locked, but if you walk away, you hear it being opened on its own. You descend into this underworld. The sound and mood completely changes. The colors shift to a familiar sickly green. The music stops and is replaced by occasional noises. You're on your own now. This, I thought, this would be the place where a jump scare would happen. I would walk into this facility and be chased through the halls by some monster or creature. Surely that's the relief I've been waiting for. So you walk. And walk. Slowly but surely, ready at any moment to turn around and run the other way. And you keep...
Games like this are really, really cool. I think games or like movies or shows like this where things like, it has like a bunch of different individual parts and they're all kind of like pieced together in different ways, and it puts the story together that way, are always so interesting to me because, like he said, like when there's tension built up, it kind of overstays its welcome. And now you're kind of like, you know, what happened there? And then you're trying to figure out how this connects to that. Sorry, I just smacked my mic. And I think that's so interesting. And then like certain things connect with other things, and then you're kind of like piecing it together the whole time.
walking.
I feel like that makes it so like, in a weird way, it makes it so engaging. You know what I mean?
Are you really alone here? I wanted to get out of there as fast as possible.
Yeah, because like if the game just started like this, you wouldn't think like, oh my, like if you knew it was a horror game, you might think like, oh, some weird stuff might happen. But like, given what just happened, and you don't know how this connects, and it's just making you feel like it's really like you have no idea. You know what I mean? You can't be like, oh, maybe a monster will chase me or something. Like you really have no idea what's going on, and that like suspense of like what is out there, what is happening, is still just there.
There was no way I was alone.
That's
How
so
could I
clever.
be? The excellent sound design of this room is a big contributor to my feelings. Unnerving ambience plays.
Yeah, like you said, there's no way I could be alone right now. You know what I mean?
Turn around only to find nothing there. Ambience that indicates some kind of pending action, like a precursor to an intense track played over some kind of chase scene. But that intense track never comes. I ran out of that basement even though nothing was chasing me. At least, I hoped nothing was chasing me. And I was back in that wide forest, more tense than ever before. Continuing to walk after this was dreadful. I found myself jumping at every noise. Metallic groaning of a rusty windmill made me turn around in a panic. The crowing of birds made me jump. This section makes me feel watched in ways I've never felt before in a game. The birdwatcher section doesn't ever reveal a threat to you visually. Most horror games, when they want to make you feel like you're being watched, add just a snippet of a threat. A quick glance into the eyes of a beast that quickly vanishes, hearing a noise that obviously wasn't natural. Paratopic does none of these things, yet makes me feel more in someone's crosshairs than in any game I've ever played. The sound design, the atmosphere, the building tension, you can't see anything, but you just know you're not alone. It's a lot more like the feeling of being watched in real life. Often when you get the feeling something is behind you and turn around, it's not because something popped into your view for a split second, but more likely a product of your environment. The perfect combination of the silence and the place you're in makes you feel seen, makes you feel like you're being watched. Paratopic mimics this exact dread of feeling observed in real life, a perfect mixture of building unnerve and being in a place where something could be hiding anywhere. That's why it's so effective. I wouldn't say it's too quiet, but it's definitely something like that. You continue walking down the slopes of a cliff, still mentally pending something to happen, when suddenly...
Damn.
You're out of the city now, and the sky is getting darker. Still not a car on the road.
Because it feels like, I imagine in that, you know, in that part, it would feel like, you know, you're out there, like you're gonna see something. And then it, you know, right when you get to this part where you're like on the side of a cliff, like it feels like something's gonna happen there, and then it cuts. And so it's like, it makes you feel like something did happen there, you just didn't see it. And so now you're kind of left wondering, what was it? And how does it connect? You know what I mean?
Still could be anybody. A road is anonymous, and the darkness only shields you from identification even more.
Like it's not, it's like letting you play the game and engage with the story, but it's not letting you see what's happening. Like it keeps getting right to the point where you're going to like figure out what's going on and what's happening. And it's just not letting you see that. It's not letting you get that like satisfaction of like, oh, this is how this connects. This is what happens. Like you're just always on edge because you're like, you don't know. Yeah, I guess that's like the name of the game, right? Is that what it's called? Paratopic? Where it's just the scenes in between scenes. It's in between when stuff happens, but it never gets to that. So that payoff is never there.
quiet. You're back as the bird watcher. This time the tall redwoods have been replaced by shipping containers. You're on a railroad track, and a brutalist monolith rests in the distance. This time you're being watched without a doubt. Cameras are following you. The sound design has gotten more hostile. You're in a place you're clearly not supposed to be. You continue towards this flavorless structure, and you see something in the distance. It looks vaguely humanoid. You try to point your camera at it, but it doesn't work. You walk closer to it. It disappears in front of your eyes. You stand there perplexed when suddenly...
Ooh.
You're back driving. The structures have gotten hostile, the remains of toppled industry begging for its life on the side of the highway.
Oh. Each time you drive, it just gets more and more barren.
Anonymous.
It kind of just makes you wonder, also, like, where are you going? Where is all this driving leading to?
Again. Still unclear who we're playing as. The attendant asks once again, who are you traveling with? You look out the window. Someone is standing by your car. The same thing that the birdwatcher saw in the woods. You say you're on your own. It doesn't stop looking at you for the remainder of your conversation. Always watching. You kick the door down and hold the bastard inside at gunpoint. Remember this from the beginning? Without a moment's hesitation, you blow his head off.
Damn.
And the fast-paced music stops. The rush of being put into such an intense situation after all that driving and walking and listening dissipates the moment you pull the trigger. Why did you do that? The game almost judges you for this. Why did you shoot this person with no context and no reason?
The music just stops.
And, no, seriously, why did you do that? The tapes replay the moment right after you kill him. Not the rush of
Damn.
excitement as you kick in the door or the satisfying shot, just the moment directly after. You're being watched, not by a monster anymore, but by your future self, who's forced to replay their past self killing a man for no reason. Until one of the tapes, finally, mercifully, doesn't take you back and you can escape from this shit. You're back to where the smuggler was taken after being caught by Border Patrol. The man
Damn.
who watched the tapes walks out of the room, a TV on his head. He walks towards you.
Is that who you just were? This person right here? Because you just watched the tapes, and do you then come out of the room like this, and now you're as someone else?
You're left alone in the dark hallway with the TV on the ground for an uncomfortably long amount of time. You're back to the ruins where the birdwatcher was found. This time playing as the assassin. You walk over to the site.
Oh.
Skinless corpse propped up by a pole.
That's probably
Look
the
at that thing
birdwatcher.
done to her. You look around.
Damn, you're back in the same place, but as one of the
Next.
other
But
characters.
that doesn't happen. You call the police. In the game, well... When Paratopic ended, I felt exactly the same
That's
way I
it?
felt the first time I was told I was being watched. That build up to some climax. Some
Oh,
kind of scare or
fuck
strange happening was
that.
bound to show up. This couldn't be the end. Is this the
No, no. That's fucking crazy. It just ends like that? What the fuck? That's such a goated place to end though. That's so crazy because it never quite gives you that payoff. It gives you the payoff of like how like it doesn't ever explain, like it answers questions that you had of like what was that thing? What's going on? And then it kind of like gives you a little bit of that. Like it shows you that thing on how that person got mangled. And then it just like ends, and then it poses more questions and then just doesn't answer them. That's crazy, man. But why? Okay, I feel like you got to piece this together, right? Like maybe at some point after the person, oh wait, no, but the assassin, they killed the guy. I thought that would have been them walking out of that room, but unless this happened before, he finds this corpse. Oh, wait, how does it end?
You call the police. In the game, well...
You
When
call the
Paratopic ended,
police,
I
the
felt
game
exact-
ends. So like at some point when you were driving, at some point you were the assassin driving to here, and then maybe from here you drove to kill the guy with the tapes. Maybe that guy was the smuggler that you killed. But then who are you playing when the assassin came out of the... Was that even him? Oh fuck.
exactly the
I don't
same way
know,
felt
dude.
the
That's
first time I was
so
told I was
weird.
being watched. That
Yeah, you
hurt.
gotta like piece it all together and like figure out. Oh man, that's so weird. Wow, the birdwatcher part was crazy. He was just a victim. He was just a guy that ended up dying. But from whatever figure that was, what does it have to do with the tapes though, and people being like mangled? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to connect those two pieces.
up to some climax, some kind of scare or strange happening was bound to show up. This couldn't be the end. Is this the end? Wait a second, explain yourself. Don't leave me like this. It's an unsatisfying ending.
No,
What is that
that's
creature? What are these rooms?
crazy.
These questions are purposely left unanswered because at its core, Paratopic isn't a game that answers questions.
Yeah, it's not supposed to, huh? It's not supposed to answer the questions. It's not supposed to give you that payoff because it's supposed to be everything in between all of that. That's so fucking cool,
The title of
man.
the game,
Holy shit.
Paratopic, the space in between the important parts of a story, well, that's exactly what we're seeing. How could you expect anything to come from that? Why would a hallway explain the room at its end? This scene perfectly captures the entire game's design philosophy. Why explain the thing looking at you from your car? Why explain the opening of the basement door? Why explain the tension you feel when you can just let it fester? Let it make grooves in your mind. What's the point in getting to the resolution when the path there, cleared of all context, is much more terrifying? The creature watching you in Paratopic is your own mind. The degree to which you have this feeling is completely up to how many details you notice and
So I guess it's kind of up to interpretation then, what's going on, huh? That's
can't get
interesting.
out of your head. And if we're talking about games where the mind watches you, where the brain is free to paint its surroundings with
Yeah, I guess it's kind of open to interpretation. Like you just notice the clues and you piece things like how I just did. There isn't really an answer there. I just did that right now where I was trying to piece together certain things.
dread, then why don't we talk about most people's first introduction to the feeling of being watched? The dark house. I'm sure as kids we've all hidden under the covers, heard a noise, watched a scary movie, or just imagined something terrifying and dove under the safety of our blankets. This is probably one of the earliest examples the average person can think of feeling watched. You would hide every movement to make it look like you weren't there for some unknown observer whose existence you could never prove, even if you're brave enough to look around your dark room. I call the game Anatomy one of the scariest I've ever played because I've never had a piece of media so accurately reflect this childhood fear. Anatomy is a game that made me feel watched for days after playing, that made me feel like I wasn't safe in my own home for a while, not because of a monster, but the walls themselves. The game is simple. You collect tapes in a dark house and play them on a tape recorder on the kitchen table. The tapes are the main focus of the game. Their contents slowly warp the house, not in a physical way, but through your own perception. The bulk of the tapes in Anatomy dissect a house as if it were a human. The living room is the heart, pumping people and activity through the rest of the house. The kitchen is the digestive system, the staircase the spine, and the bedroom a brain. The feeling of being watched when you begin Anatomy is distinctly different from when you finish Anatomy, and the first part of the game's terror comes from a similar source to Paratopics. The indication, but not the proof. Of course, Anatomy in many respects excels in this feeling just as Paratopic does. Anatomy's atmosphere is imposing, dreadful, and in many ways nostalgic. You're given a sprint key, one that makes you run much faster than clearly your small environment can ever fully allow. I initially thought that because I could sprint, and at such fast speeds, I would surely have to run from something. The culmination of all these factors, the atmosphere...
So interesting, giving you a sprint key, like giving you the ability to sprint, but making it like too fast to where like it'd be inconvenient to use it. That's pretty interesting.
Made me feel like I wasn't alone. It made me feel like something utterly terrifying would reveal itself to me at any moment. When that doesn't happen, when the house is silent, all that's left is paranoia. I've explained Anatomy's horror in much the same way I did Paratopics. If you leave now, you may come away with the idea that Anatomy and Paratopic will scare you in similar ways. But then you get to the second part of Anatomy, the horror that made me feel vulnerable in my own home for days. Unlike Paratopic, Anatomy fully answers the question of what is watching me. And the answer is an uneasy one that goes far beyond the game. The tapes in Anatomy give you descriptions about how human-like a house is and how it relates to
Is the
bodily
house
functions, about
watching
what a home
you?
thinks and feels, about how a home can see. Anatomy asks the question, can a house, by its very nature, be considered alive? And the uncomfortable answer to that question is yes. A house can consume matter by taking in energy in the form of groceries and food feeding its inhabitants. Those inhabitants, acting like cells, keep it alive by maintaining its walls and appliances, excrete in the form of trash, take in oxygen through windows or air conditioning.
No, stop. No, stop. Wait. So it's saying like a house is alive and it's being maintained in the same way that like we are alive and we are being maintained by like our cells. Our cells are, yeah, because we live in a house and we need the energy and everything to do things to the house in the way that like you could say that like the house is using the energy of like the food and whatever else to like repair itself in the way that our cells use energy that we put into it to heal our body. That's so fucking interesting. So it's not to say that like the house itself is like the living thing in itself, but like it is made up of living things and it works because of living things. So in a way, it is alive in the way that like our body is like a house. Like our body, that's a fucking really weird way to think about it. Our body is not alive. All of the cells and everything going on inside are alive and are making it work. I hate that. I hate that.
Base to a final self, reproduce by providing humanity with comfort and a sense of place that then inspires them to make more homes and respond to external stimuli, like when hurricane shutters are put up in response to a coming storm.
Yeah. Oh man, because fuck. Yeah, you can get mold, you can get fungus, you can get infections. Yeah. You can get termites, you can get bugs. Yeah, no, the more I think of it, like the more you think about it, the more you can draw more and more comparisons to a house in the human body. And in that way, you could say it's alive if that's, your standard for like life. Because in a way, like our bodies aren't any more alive than our cells are alive. And so in that way, a house isn't anymore, it's alive in the way that the humans inside of it are taking care of it and that they are alive.
Disease, and other vulnerabilities, and it can die. If a house can possess these qualities, if it can match every definition
Yeah, a house
of
can
living thing
die.
we have in some form, then can it feel emotion? If so, what does an abandoned house feel? What happens when a house is left alone? When it becomes worn and aged and its paint peeled?
And its foundations begin to sink, like those for too long unlived in.
It is the house.
Think of.
It is the house talking to you through the tapes, isn't it?
How does it regard those creatures who built it, brought it into existence only to abandon it? When its usefulness no longer satisfies them. It may grow lonesome. It may grow angry. Its basement may fill with churning acid like an empty stomach, and its gorge may rise as it asks itself through clenched teeth, what did I do wrong?
If a house can be angry, if it can have emotions, if it can hate humanity, what can it do about it? Nothing. It has no legs, it can't move. The only thing a house can do in response is watch. In this way, the windows of a house serve
Much the same purpose as eyes, and anyone who has ever rounded a bend or long drive and come suddenly face to face with a tall, dark manor will tell you that it is difficult to shake the impression that the house, through its lightless windows, is a creature capable of vision and intelligence.
The house in anatomy watches you. It watches you walking through its hallways, watches you exploring its crevices, watching you pick at it after you abandoned it so long ago. Unlike Whiteface, who watches you out of obsession, the house in anatomy watches you out of hate. And if a house, teeming with hatred, can do nothing but watch, what does it mean for the player? What does it mean to
Yeah, that's crazy. It's not even hating you out of obsession or because it has to. It's hating you because it wants to. Or sorry, it's watching you. Not out of obsession. It's watching you out of hate. It's watching you because it wants to, because it's upset at you, but there's nothing that it can really do about it.
in a home. When I finished playing Anatomy, I was still in a dark house alone. Walking around this now foreign place was anguish. I walked down the stairs, I think the spine. I walked to the kitchen, the stomach. I tuck myself into bed, the mouth. I look out the window, and it stares back. Why did we hide under the covers as children? Maybe it was to ward off monsters made so real by our minds that we felt their eyes on us. Or maybe it's because for as much as a house can betray us at any moment, we trust it unconditionally with our lives. Trust that while we remain unconscious, while we lie asleep for hours without senses, that it won't turn on us. It's here in the bedroom that we're at our most vulnerable. Each night we shut our senses
to the world for hours at a time, trusting in the house to keep us safe until next we wake. In this state of extreme vulnerability, we will spend something like 20% of our lives. Anything might stand beside us, watch us, keep us company until dawn, and we would never perceive it. We can only pray that the house will not let such things carry on as we sleep. In this way, during these hours, the bedroom seems less like a mind and more like a mouth. For it is here that the house is most likely to betray us. It is here that we place ourselves most at the house's mercy and spend each night hoping that it will not bite down.
Anatomy makes you feel stupid for trusting your own home, for trusting that just because you live inside another organism that it won't betray you. And a house doesn't always keep its inhabitants safe. Quite often do we hear stories about burglaries, storm damage, fires, people secretly living in other people's homes. Why do you feel safe in your own home? If you really try to answer that question, you'll find that any answer is built on flawed logic. Because in reality, a house is just wood, brick, concrete, and steel, and yet we trust this organism to protect us because what else can we do? After playing Anatomy, I didn't want to go to sleep.
Yeah, we can never know 100% if we're like safe. I mean, at any given moment in our lives, we could never be like 100% safe. There's always a chance that, like, I don't know, a nuke could drop on you right now or something. Well, I don't know. Like, you know, you'll never be 100% safe, but at the same time, you choose to stay in this house because you believe that you'll be safe relative to like how safe you could be if you weren't in this house or if you were in a different house or whatever. So the possibility of being like 100% safe is kind of irrelevant, I think, in our own minds. At least we're not going to think about that because we never could be 100% safe. It's not something we'll ever strive for because we can never reach that. But I don't know, I kind of disagree because, like, if you were to say a house is alive in the way that a human is alive, if all of your cells stopped working, it's not like you could do anything about that because in a way you are made up of your cells. You operate because of your cell. Even like your brain and everything is made up of tissue and cells and whatever. Like, because if all that stopped working, the house has a brain. That means that the brain would be made up of cells, as in the brain of the house would be the people in a way that are in that house, that are living in the house. And if they're gone in the way that, like, you know, if you were just like an empty body with no organs, no brain, you couldn't do anything. You wouldn't really be you anymore. You know what I mean? You are just the cells that are inside of you in a way that a house is just the people who are in the house. I don't know, but it is very interesting because I guess that, like, that could play on the idea of like consciousness in the mind, like that it might exist outside of just the brain. You know, there are ideas that the consciousness is something that isn't produced by the brain, but you could say it like harnessed. And so in that way, what does a conscious being who has no brain feel, you know?
Sleep. Because I knew that my presence was being observed by the very place I rested my head in every night. All I could do was hope that it wouldn't betray me. In many ways, the unsettling nature of being watched is akin to the fear of the unknown. Can you prove you're not being watched? Sure, plenty of fears are unable to be proven false, but there's something about the simplicity of being watched that makes it feel more plausible. It's why the statement, "Can you prove you're not being watched right now?" holds more weight than, "Can you prove there's not someone about to kill you from behind?" Are you being watched right now? Maybe.
Just
Maybe
had to make sure.
watching you through your screen. It's possible that when you go out on a
Had to make
or
sure.
a long drive, you're being followed. Maybe through its curtained windows, your very home is staring into your soul. The feeling of being watched is a fear response that dates back to our early ancestors, and their ability to tell when danger was nearby. It held when we were children hiding under our covers, and it can still be felt when we hear the digital rustle of a bush in a video game. The monster that makes itself known is one that I can handle. The monster that stays in the shadows, that doesn't allow even an ounce of apathy as it stalks you. Well, that's the one that sticks in my mind. You never truly know when you're being watched. So take a glance around wherever you're watching this. If this video gets a couple 100,000 views, it's statistically sound to say that at least one of you hearing my voice right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like, you know, the monster that you can never see or that you can never, like, interact with, but that you know is always there, is one that you always have to be prepared for. So you're always going to be on high alert. And I think that's the fear of being watched. Like, I think in a lot of horror games, the jump scares happen, it's over, and then you don't really have to think about it anymore. You kind of just go on about your day. Like, oh man, I fucking already forgot the name of it. Paratopic or whatever, is that what it was called? The second game he was talking about. That one is like, because you're throughout the whole game, you're constantly prepared for something. You're like on the edge of your seat, you're waiting for something because you know that there's something that's wrong and there's something that's there. There's something going on at all times, and you just never quite know what. And so when it kind of, you play this game that exists, you play in between the moments where you understand what's going on, it's really unsettling because you just never quite know. And so you're always just questioning it. You're always trying to figure it out. You're always trying to be prepared for it. And you never get to a point. And every time you're about to get to a point where it seems like that preparation is going to actually mean something, you know what I mean? Where like you're actually getting to the point that you prepared for, you are now thrust into the next situation where you don't know what you are preparing for. You're still on high alert. That one really stuck out to me. That second game really stuck out to me. That one was really, really cool. I really, really like that idea. Just it being in between the moments that pay off, but like you just never actually get to those moments and you just keep going towards them. And it unfolds, but just never quite enough. And even when the game ends, you can piece things together, but you'll never like have that full payoff. That's such a fascinating idea to me because I feel like it just leaves so much room for like, you don't know what's going on. You're kind of just on high alert.
Watched without your knowledge. Could it be you, James?
I don't know who James is. Tried anyone named James? Damn. Crazy, man. W video, dude. That's fucking nuts. Damn, crazy video, man. Crazy video. That's awesome. That's sick, bro. I'm giving that a like. Damn, what a video. All right. Cool. That is about all I had right now. It's about all I had.